Transformers: The Last Knight is the fifth installment into the Transformers franchise, and so-called Michael Bay's and Mark Wahlberg's final entry into the franchise. It is directed by Michael Bay and stars Mark Wahlberg, Anthony Hopkins, and a bunch of other people. There's the kid, and there's the British girl, and you got all the robots, and okay. I have a lot to talk about in this review. And I want to start just as a thing to say. I went on a road trip last week. That's why I haven't posted in a while. And during that road trip, I was with my 75-year-old grandfather, and we saw 3 movies. We saw Baby Driver, we saw Transformers, and we saw Rough Night. All 3 of those will be getting reviews probably today and tomorrow. And he enjoyed Baby Driver thoroughly and enjoyed Rough Night thoroughly. And as I was talking to him when we were going to see this movie, all he really wanted to see was just robots fighting robots and be entertained for 2.5 hours. He fell asleep during this movie at least twice, the 2 times that I noticed it. And he has the exact same opinion as me on this movie. It's absolutely fascinating. It is a fascinating piece of film work. I did not walk out of this movie angry. I walked out of it completely intrigued. If I could watch them make this movie just for 24 hours, just to go on set for a day, I think I would learn more about film than from going anywhere else. Because there are 2 things that make this movie completely fascinating. The first one being, there are almost no redeeming qualities about this movie. It's almost a complete pile of shit. And when I say complete, I mean nothing good about it. There are little things, really little things that make it, not the worst in the franchise. It's not the worst in the franchise. I'd put it above 4 and 2. It's a movie that almost has nothing good about it. And the second thing is that this movie feels like Michael Bay has never read a single review for any of the other Transformers movies. It's like his mindset is that everybody loves the movies, every single person, so let's just keep doing the same thing. When in reality, really nobody likes these movies, and there's gotta be something done. There has to be something done. If they're going to keep making these movies, which they are, because they keep making $1 billion a pop, something needs to change. Whether that's Michael Bay leaving, or whatever needs to happen, something has to happen. Because I wouldn't call a single one of the Transformers movies good. I'd call the first one watchable. That's all I would say about that movie. I would not call it a good movie. I would call it a watchable movie. The other movies are all basically trash. They really are. There is almost nothing good about any of those movies, and that's why this one is so fascinating. They just didn't change anything. They just did the same thing. It's different when you do a movie franchise like The Hangover, and the first one is incredibly successful, and they just try and do the same thing so that it's good. No. You have a franchise that is awful the whole way through, and then they're doing the same thing because they're not trying to make it quality. They're just trying to rake in the money. Or Michael Bay actually thinks what he is producing onto the screen is good. It's not. And the fact that Anthony Hopkins called Michael Bay a genius is he's got to have lost his mind. The only reason I can think he would do that would be the visuals of this movie, because, when Anthony Hopkins was in The Silence of the Lambs, nothing like this could have been imaginable in terms of visual effects. Although, if that's the case, I don't know why there's no quote of him calling Jonathan Nolan a genius for Westworld. I don't know. The guy's just gone crazy, I guess, because he's not even good in this movie. I could just sit here and list you the bad things about this movie, but I sound like a broken record. I not only sound like every other reviewer talking about this movie, I sound like every other reviewer talking about the other 4 films. It's the same thing. Everything that's wrong with this movie is everything that's wrong with the other movies. Because anything you can possibly do wrong in a film, except for visual effects, is done wrong in this movie. It's just done incorrectly. That's just a fact of film. If you enjoy this movie, fine. You know, I get it. You liked seeing robots clash heads for 30 minutes of the 2.5-hour runtime. Fine with me. If you enjoyed it, great. But it's almost a fact that this movie is done incorrectly. The direction is incompetent. The screenwriting is all over the place. The jokes aren't funny. There's no kind of characters. If they ever have the character do something that might add to them, they'll go back on it in the next scene. They'll contradict it somehow with some action they'll perform or some line of dialogue that they'll speak. There's no character in this movie. There's no development of character in this movie. There's no setup of character in this movie. There's no nothing to care about in this movie, and that's why nobody likes it. That's why it's got a nothing review on Rotten Tomatoes. Because while some people go to the theater just to be entertained, some people go to escape into a new world. And it's impossible to do that when you're constantly being pulled out by things that are done wrong in a movie. Happenstancely, that's not a real word, by sheer happenstance, that happens for the entire runtime of this movie, and it is fascinating. Another thing that's fascinating is not one performance in this movie is good. Not one. I think Mark Wahlberg was trying. I think. But he had nothing to work with. Again, no character was given to him. No good lines of dialogue were given to him to speak. Anthony Hopkins manages to be awful in this movie. The British girl is horrible in this movie. And by God, the kid is so awful. She is so awful. From the first scene she shows up on screen, I was sitting there going, oh my God, we're actually going to have to watch her the entire movie. I don't care if she's a kid actress. There are good kid actors out there. Jacob Tremblay right now is hot, hot, hot. He's been in like one good movie, but he's a great actor. He is a great actor, and God do I hope The Predator is good so he like has another good movie under his belt. Kid actors are allowed to be judged. Don't shit on me in the comments for that. I don't care about that. This kid is awful. And you could cast anyone and they wouldn't do any better because there's no script for them to work with. Every time I saw the trailer for this movie, I laughed out loud in the theater when she said, I'm gonna stay and I'm gonna fight them. Because it is fucking hilarious. Because she's awful. Everyone is awful in this movie. There's not one redeeming performance. I was hoping at least Anthony Hopkins could bring me a little shining light, but he brought me nothing. Because he couldn't. He was incapable of bringing you anything. There is no way for him to. The action in this movie is poorly filmed. You can't tell who anyone is. At least in the first Transformers movie, you know which ones are the Autobots and which ones are the Decepticons. In this movie, shit's just blowing up and you're watching people go back and forth and like it's just a mess. This movie is a mess. It's all over the place for every single reason you could come up with. Again, the visuals are at least interesting, and they're good, and the first 15 minutes of this movie is intriguing. Like, I was interested. And then it just took it and tossed it out the fucking window. It said, no. None of that. No interesting things. Money, 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 because no matter what they do, this movie will make money, and then they're going to make that Bumblebee spinoff, and God do I hope they at least hire a director that knows what he's doing, so maybe we have a shot. At least movie franchises that aren't doing well in this day and age are starting to hire directors that know what they're doing. The Thor series is doing that. Thor 1 and 2 are not good movies, so they're bringing on Taika Waititi to do the third one, and shocker, it looks great. Bring a new director to this franchise. Stop letting Michael Bay do it. You know these movies are going to make money. Why not try? Why not make a good movie that makes $1 billion? Just try it. Please. Please don't see this movie. Please don't. There's nothing good about it, and the reviews reflect that. Just don't see it. Just don't. It's not that hard. Go see Baby Driver. It's leagues more entertaining. Please, do not give this movie money. Don't. It's a bad movie for almost every reason in Movie 101. It just is. It's like Michael Bay never took a movie class. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. So, What did you guys think? Have you seen Transformers the last night? Did you not see Transformers? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.